Hello, everyone. A big welcome. Happy Friday, happy Saturday, wherever you are in the world. This is USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I'm the listening mentor. I'm also the founder and the president and chief listening officer here at our network, where we currently have over 25 live weekly broadcasts. Our show today is The Listening Mentor, and our topic is the psychology behind rewards and recognition. I professionally worked in that industry for many years. It's a fascinating industry, calling on corporations to speak with them about how they celebrate their most important assets, their customers, as well as their clients. Joining me is the star of our show. Her name is Caroline HEWARD, and she's the Harley Street stress expert. If you're not aware, Harley Street is a very famous street in London, and she is a therapist helping people bust their stress. She's also one of our expert presenters on Talking Heads. She's one of our elevated listeners, and she's also one of our stars of the Spelling Bee game show. If you didn't see this one, it is a winner. You must go over to our YouTube channel and check it out. She and Janetta Barry are going head to head for the title of Queen Spelling Bee. Also, Caroline has a fabulous course called Chakra Psychology and the Healing Journey. I recommend this for everyone. You can go over to our education platform on usaglobaltv.com. You can also go over to Thinkific and you can find it there. And I'll put the exact link in the chat so that you can find the course and learn all that you need to know about chakra psychology and how you can start to heal yourself. All right, let's welcome her, the Harley Street stress expert, Caroline HEWARD. Hello.
Woo!
Yeah, how's it going?
It's nice to see that we're both in white as well and the same backgrounds. It's kind of cool.
I know. It's a really good feeling. I feel like we're on the same train going somewhere.
Absolutely. What a great intro. I can't even follow that up.
Well, it's all true. And every week we have such great conversations. And what I love is that whatever I throw at you, you just, whatever the topic is, you're like, okay, that's fine with me. It's never like, well, I don't know. I have to look into that. You know everything when it comes to human behavior. So tell us a little bit about your background. Tell us how you came to be the Harley Street stress expert and your areas of expertise.
Okay. Well, it's vast and it's big, so I shall give you the very short version. I was ex-corporate girl, very successful in corporate, that went into a depression. So what I did was I was looking for answers to solve that depression. That was back in 2000, so over 2 decades ago now. And I started looking at stress management, hypnosis, NLP, hypnotherapy, lots of different energy healing modalities, and Reiki, all sorts of, sort of modalities around that time. But I really got together and did really well in focusing on the chakra psychology, which was clearing the 7 major chakras and understanding how our body, mind, and our behavior responds when there's an imbalance, and the imbalance is the symptom. And I kind of really like that, and I started to focus more on that, but bringing in the NLP, stress management, the clinical hypnotherapy, bringing all of that in, so I made it my aim. And essentially over the 2 decades plus, I've been working with people with all manner of symptoms, and I'm currently studying a self-harm and suicide training course, which is extremely intensive and very rewarding. I've just had completed my 2nd module and had glowing feedback from a mental health nurse who's my assessor, which is really rewarding, and it's very intensive as well. And I realized that I know quite a lot more than I thought I did in terms of the learning. I'm also reviewing my coaching, which is looking at NLP, hypnosis and NLP. So I'm reviewing again, and it's all a very intensive time. What I do to help people is I literally help them bust their stress by identifying the root cause. So I work with root cause therapy to literally bust their symptom, whether it be emotional, behavioral, mental, or physical, whatever it is, because it's really about the body being in dis-ease rather than disease, dis-ease. And the dis-ease is when there's an issue or a trauma in life that's not being handled. I offer a free consultation. You can connect with me at my email address, NoMoreStress@live.co.uk, or reach out and call if you're international, +44, local 0737523 120 189, and we can help you bust through one of your symptoms.
Outstanding. Thank you. And thank you for your continuing education and just sharing with us how qualified you are in so many areas. Please do reach out to Caroline. You'll start feeling better. What are you waiting for? All right, let's talk about our topic today, the psychology behind rewards and recognition. And I want to tie it into another program where we had a conversation. It was Kim Adele Randall, also in London. We were talking about, should every child have a trophy? So I'd like to kind of bring that into this topic as well. So as I mentioned, spent the last part of my career, I can't remember how many years it was, a long time, with two companies over, I'm going to say 18 years. And those years I spent calling on organizations, C-level executives, about the challenges they were facing when it comes to driving behavior change in their organization. And so in many cases, people have a culture of recognition, and that culture can be including many things. It could be sales incentives, it could be trips, it could be points-based programs, do this, earn that, you get the grill, you get the watch. And it could also be calling people up on a stage and acknowledging them in front of their peers. And so the generation that I'm in, I'm 59, I was all about being called up on stage and getting the awards and the trophies and the points and be able to say, wow, I got that grill because I did X, Y, Z. But the younger generations, I don't know that that's as important to them. I'm finding that there's more volunteerism, Habitat for Humanity, et cetera. So let's talk about the psychology of wanting to be recognized. Is it a want? Is it a need? How would you describe it, Caroline?
Well, I'm very much like you by the sound of it, Dr. Jacqueline. I've been in that space, and I'm a bit of an award winner, throughout my lifetime. I've got lots of different certificates and trophies, so I really get that. And from that perspective, I'd like to bring, why I did it, because it will resonate with many other people. It's about significance. We want to feel, it's one of our human needs to feel significant. And when we are rewarded and recognized for work that we have done in that very public way, with a certificate, an award, a trophy, and we're pulled on stage, it's a massive state of significance that's public. And I must admit that, I was that person that always had those kinds of accolades, and it did something for me. It was almost a driver, but as soon as I'd achieved one award, I was almost then looking for, well, what next? Because it wasn't actually fulfilling me. And this is the other part of that if you are that type of person that, sort of seeks the recognition and the reward, once you've got it, it's almost like, well, okay, I did that, now what next? And it then becomes a perpetuating cycle of moving forward, but never really celebrating wholly what you really did. And that's the piece that I want to really share, that the significance is there in terms of moving towards the award. But when the award is announced and you're given it, it's like sort of, okay, done, next. And so you don't, I didn't really, and I can see that I still don't bask in the glory of the awards. And so that need for significance is a human basic need. The high performers, high achievers, tend to get it in the awards, the trophies that way. And if you're not that way oriented, then we get the significance in terms of our relationships, our emotional relationships, our parents, our love, relationship with family, friendships. So we can get it from different places.
That's a great answer. Thank you. And I actually have the same kind of feelings as you. I would be so excited to get whatever the award is or the degree or whatever. And then it's like, okay, now what? In fact, it's kind of funny. I mean, I had forgotten about this until we're just chatting now, but I got my doctorate, which took me 6 years. At the same time, I was working my full-time career and traveling all over for my career. And then as soon as I got it, I actually signed up for another doctorate. And I was 3 weeks into the program and I thought, what am I doing? This is insane. Aside from being $125,000 more, I just don't want to do this anymore. And then I had to find something else. And it's interesting because when the pandemic hit and then I retired from my corporate life and now things are so different, I don't even care about those things. I mean, I care that I got the doctorate, obviously, because of the work, but it's no longer about getting the awards. It's more about enjoying the time, like the connections that I'm making, the time that I have right now with you. But yet I was like that for most of my life.
What's happening now, which is very fascinating for me, is I'm getting awards without even writing anything up for them. And that's a different state of being, because I would always write up awards, submissions, which were always really lengthy. And it was easy to do because I was doing lots of stuff, so they were always very easy to do. And I'd sign up for different awards in terms of my voluntary unpaid work in an organization that I was a member of for a long time, Junior Chamber International. And I was there from 27 to 42. And I got lots of awards there, which was really fun. But then I did lots of projects and it was just a really fun experience, all those black tie dinners. And it was just a really great, and I just kind of got in with it and I kept winning awards. But now I'm actually being rewarded and given awards that I'm not writing the submissions on. So the Ambassador for Peace Award from the Universal Peace Federation was given within 4 months of being around in the organization. And I didn't write anything. I didn't know it was being given. I found out the night before, oh, we're going to give you an award. Are you coming to the meeting?
And how did that make you feel when you got something that you didn't submit for? Did it mean more?
I was blown away. In fact, I didn't do a thank you speech. I whispered thank you. I was lost for words. I didn't know what to say. I just gave them both a hug, the two directors, and I didn't have a thank you speech because I was just completely, in England we would say flabbergasted. I was just totally in awe. And then the award recently that I've received from the Woman of Hearts as Global Leadership Award, that again was something when I was advised that I got it. I went into this, oh my gosh, wow, you don't even know me. But people are following me and it almost means more, I feel, because I'm not... I don't feel I'm doing anything for them, but clearly I have been. It's just that I'm not writing submissions. So it's actually, affecting my heart. I'm kind of going, oh my gosh, wow, I didn't do anything for that. So it feels different and it almost feels more rewarding.
Yes. Well, congratulations. That is very exciting. And I want to talk about the A players. You mentioned them. Okay. They're in any organization. You always have a group of people who are the high performers. They are the ones who get the trips and they get all of the accolades. And then you have people at the other end of the organization that are just, they're basically showing up for work, but not rocking the boat. They're considered to be C. players, for example. But the people in the middle are working, they are performing, they are putting in the effort, and yet they can't get to the level of the A or the top performers. And so we did a lot of work in my experience when I was in corporate doing this, putting together programs to move that middle group of people. Because if, for example, there is a trip, that an incentive trip that someone can earn. If you know that Susie, Bobby, and Billy are going to win the trip every single year, and you put in the effort, but you know you're not going to make it, then you might not even work as hard. You might say to yourself, well, I know I'm not going to earn that. So we put together programs to really motivate that middle group of people. So what are your thoughts when it comes to high performers such as yourself, and then people who are just disenchanted, maybe hate their work, they're just getting the paycheck, but the people in the middle who really like what they're doing, but they can't seem to get to the next level? Is there a psychology of how to motivate that group of people?
I firmly believe it's because it might be that their needs are met where they are. They might not need the over public significance. I've actually seen in my corporate time that people are awarded and recognized and they don't want it. They go, oh, no, it was okay. It was just my job, and they're uncomfortable with the external accolade when somebody quiet, that's kind of doing their thing and they're doing really well behind the scenes. And sometimes I feel that they don't like that very public thing that happens. So I feel that the ones that strive for that very public accolade, it could be that that's their motivation, so they're coming in and they're motivated to get it. But the people that are in the middle, they're motivated in the place that they're at. And it's different strokes for different folks, so they say, that not everyone wants that big thing. They might be quite happy with a small bonus or something that's sort of like a tap on the back to say, oh, well done, that was a great project. So we can't judge, and I don't think it's appropriate to judge everybody in the same place as the high achievers, that they want that big trophy, that big accolade. From my perspective, I was looking for it so that I could go back home and tell my mum, look what I got, and my mum would say, oh, great, that's what you do though, so I was looking for like recognition. My mum said, well, that's just what you do. And it was kind of almost deflating, because it's like now an expectation. My mum just says, well, that's what you always do, that you always get some award.
Yes.
And so that's the standard then, that's how I'm being, so that's, even when I got the Peace Award, my mum said, oh, that was a bit quick. You haven't done very much for that. So she had the same approach and response that I did. And so I feel it's in your psyche, it's in your psychology of what you need.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You brought up a number of points though that I want to sort of drill down on. I did my doctoral dissertation on how effective reward and recognition programs are in driving behavior change across gender and generation of a pharmaceutical sales force. So I actually took archival survey data from trips that we hosted for one major pharmaceutical company, and I triangulated the data to look at men and women. That's what it was at the time: men, male and female, and would earning a trip cause them to behave in a different way. And then we also looked at various generations and age groups. And it was really an interesting outcome, because depending on what age you are and how you grew up and how maybe you were in your family, how reward and recognition was there, that might have an impact on how you feel about it going forward. Like, for example, I grew up where we had a chart on the refrigerator for all of our chores, and we would get little stars, and the stars would equate to money, so we would get money for doing our chores. And I also remember as a very young person, when I think I was in first grade, and my teacher had also a board where you would get stars for participation, so I always wanted to get the gold stars, and so it was ingrained into me as an adult as well. But yet in other ways, maybe people got rewarded or recognized with a hug, or I love you, or something else. And so maybe those gold stars weren't really that important. But my question for you is not as a therapist, it's as a business leader. So if you're running an organization and you want everybody to be a high performer, okay, what do you do so that you motivate people to get uncomfortable with where they are? So we can always be comfortable with what we're doing, right? We get used to what we're doing. I'm a B performer. I'm a C performer. I'm never going to get to be an A. But if I'm running the organization, I want all A players, because then, of course, our revenues are going to go up, our numbers, our projections. So what can you think of in terms of, I guess, combining therapist and business leader to drive that behavior change?
Right now, I would say, very topically, money. I would say that a lot of people would be motivated by bonuses and a little extra in their pay packet in terms of their performance, because of our changed times. And, sort of, we have to respect that we're not all the same. We're not all that outgoing type of person. And there will be people that are quite compliant people, very quiet, very methodical, and very driven with procedures and processes. They still like to be rewarded. It's simply differently. So I feel that, the good old fashioned, bonus structure of getting a bonus depending on which bit of the ceiling that you hit, that you have a bonus.
Now, I appreciate that answer. What if I were to tell you that based on research, and I can't say research recently because I haven't done it recently, but the cash does not drive behavior change. So we need a certain amount of money to live. We like money, but if you look, for example, at the insurance industry, and if any industry where it's 100% commission, people can take their time and their efforts and make as much money as they possibly want to achieve, because there isn't a ceiling. But yet people can't make it. They don't have what it takes. They need a set income, for example. They need a salary. So what we found at the time when I was doing this work is that cash is not king. It's actually the ability to earn something that you then can look at in the future, or it's a shared experience that you have with someone that you can then talk about later. But the cash will not drive behavior change. And there's an actual Seinfeld episode. Are you familiar with Seinfeld?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, I won't bore you with the details, but one of the characters, Elaine, it's her birthday, and Jerry, the main character, gives her a box filled with cash. And she opens it up and she's like, cash? You gave me cash for my birthday? And then Kramer gave her this desk. And the desk wasn't an elaborate desk. It was just like a top with legs. And it probably didn't cost as much money as the cash. But because she had an actual gift that she could look at and know that he gave it to her versus cash, which cash you spend and you don't even know what you spent it on. So, for example, if I give you $50, you're going to spend that on something, but you might not equate the fact that I gave it to you as a reward for your performance, because there's nothing tied to it. It's fleeting. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Well, I miss my old job. Yeah. Coming back.
When I was in corporate, I egged the team on to, sort of, well, if you do this and do that, and if we get this amount of sales, then, sort of, you'll all get bonuses. And it was, mind you, I'm talking about a long time ago. I'm talking about the mid-90s. So that may have been different, late 80s, mid-90s. And maybe, you know, things have changed a lot. But certainly when I was leading a team at that point, there was a huge drive on, you know, getting that small amount of bonus. And I felt that in later years, when I was in marketing and PR, it was all about the credibility, the accolade of being seen and being, you know, being in the right company, you know, being invited to the right socials, being, you know, sort of in that space of being seen and being shown that, you know, you belong to the elite group. I felt that that was something that that was more a part of that environment.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That makes a lot of sense. So remember, this is just for our audience, maybe just joining us. And actually, we have one of our team members here. Hello, Maria Eduardo, one of our elevated listeners. Nice to have you with us. Thank you. We're talking about psychology behind rewards and recognition. How do you drive behavior change as a business leader? So as a business leader, let's say publicly traded company, you have to report back to your shareholders what's going to drive sales. So if you got people selling, you got a sales organization, how do you get them to increase their productivity and increase their sales? So we were talking about cash. When you don't have cash to pay your bills, okay, that's a separate problem. Okay, you have to have a compensation package, at least in my experience, that is conducive to you having the life that you want to be able to live. If that's not the case, then you're not going to be productive. So we have to have a compensation package that maybe includes bonuses, whatever that you need in there, healthcare, obviously. So if that is already being covered, then as a business leader, what can you do to drive behavior change and increase productivity, decrease turnover? And the answer is typically tangible rewards, shared experiences. It could even be volunteering together with Habitat for Humanity, you and your team going together and having that incredible experience. So as a therapist, you have a unique perspective because you understand the psychology of how people think. So my question for you now is, if you are one of the employees in an organization and you have the compensation that you need and you're being offered an opportunity to participate in a reward program, are you motivated to do it so that you can get those accolades? And would that apply to everyone?
Yes, I would. I would be wanting to be, you know, one of the superstars, and that would be, you know, my motivation, because that's you know, sort of part of my psyche. Some people don't want it, so we're all individuals, we're all human beings, and we're all different. And so it is about understanding through, I would guess, an appraisal process to find out what would motivate that person to, what would drive that person to do more. And, you know, I would find out individually what would come out of a 360 appraisal process of what motivates people to do more, because I don't believe one size fits all. You're certainly right that, you know, you've got the super performers, and then you've got the people in the middle who are always in the middle, and then you've got the people that sort of just come in, do their job, and go home, and they're completely okay with that. You know, it's a 9 till 5 or whatever it is that they're doing, and they never really understand why the people that are super performing do all that extra work, do all those extra hours. It doesn't make sense to them, because it might be that family is more important to them, you know, or the external social environment of family and friendships and relationship is more important to them. So it's about understanding who your team are, and, you know, and how the team play together.
Absolutely brilliant answer, Caroline. I love that. It's about understanding the people on your team, and what is it that motivates them? Just because you're on a team doesn't mean that everybody is motivated by the same things. It's definitely individual. And to the point that you just made, some people would like to have more time off, or they'd like to be able to work 4 days a week. Well, that can be a reward right there. That can be an incentive. So it doesn't have to be that you earn points to get the grill, and it doesn't have to be that you get to go on this trip to a 5-star resort. There's many different ways of looking at how to package it. And by surveying your team, surveying your organization, you can find out this information. Something that's also interesting, I think, about surveys, I did a lot of research on this when I was in that industry, is that depending how the question is written can actually determine how the responses are going to be given. Many surveys, you don't get any information. We ask yes and no questions. There's no information there to actually to learn anything. So I think how the survey's written is really important in terms of what it is you're trying to achieve, what information you're trying to get. So we've got another comment from Maria. Hello. She agrees with you. Not everyone is motivated by the same things. Exactly correct. So our discussion today has really taken on a few different areas of interest. And I want to go to the next one, which is what I told you we talked about on Authentic Achievements with Kim Adele Randall. Should all kiddos be given trophies regardless of their performance? And what do we mean by this? There has been a period of time, I don't know if it's still today, but children, let's say at a game, they're playing in a sports event, and everyone's going to get a trophy. Everybody's going to get a plaque. Everybody's going to get, hey, you're the best this, you're the best that. And when I was growing up, you actually had to perform in order to get the trophy or to be recognized. But then, of course, people were feeling sad. Their children weren't being recognized. The children were feeling sad. What are your thoughts as a therapist? And then we'll look at it differently. As a therapist about giving everybody a trophy.
It's a really, really interesting perspective. And I would agree with celebrating every child, because this is where you can realize that you're no good, you're not good enough, and you could be trying, working really hard towards the goal and then not achieving it. And that disappointment will last forever. So what happens in our childhood, in our very young years, sort of up to 7, 8, 9, 10, can really form who we're being when we become an adult. And so if we weren't the child that got the awards, then we move into life thinking we're not good enough, or we're not worthy enough to get the awards. So there is, from that therapy perspective, I feel that it would be lovely to recognize each child with something that's real and meaningful. And I would honestly subscribe to that, because, the child is really genuinely doing their best, and they don't have all the resources that adults have. And so I feel that to move a child into greatness, whatever they're doing, would be a beautiful gift to them, that they would move into that adulthood in a very different way.
Thank you, Caroline. I agree with what you're saying. Now I'm going to ask you to take off your therapist hat. And now you are a CEO of a publicly traded company, for example. And your team members have all been used to getting awards for everything. But yet the sales numbers are not where they need to be. And the organization is basically not in great shape. Do you start actually looking for high performers and high achievers and spend less time acknowledging everyone for something?
I would say that this is where a 360 appraisal would be really good. Where the person is appraised, it's both ways, because it might be that there's something that's not coming forth from the management that the person is not telling you. And so if you do it both ways, you'll find out what's not working, what's not, why the performance isn't there. And it might be that there's something going on in their personal life. It might be that there's sickness. It might be that somebody has passed away. It might be that some relationship difficulties, so it's the person. You see, we're all human beings, even though it's a company. The company is made up of people. It's made up of human beings that are going through their own stuff, their own everyday things. And so when we take off the fact that it's an organization, and we realize we're actually people in this organization, then you would be surprised how much can be achieved by talking to the person, finding out what's going on, because they might be a super performer if you have the understanding of what's going on and what's not working in their lives.
Caroline, once again, I love this answer, and you have taken us full circle, because this show, the title is The Listening Mentor, and what it all comes down to is listening. It comes down to understanding who it is that you have the ability to touch their lives. And we can't do that with a one size fits all. We can't say, okay, this is a program and it's for everybody. No, it's not. You need to get to know your people. And even within families, you have to understand what is it that drives behavior change for your husband, your wife. What do people need so they feel valued? And what I also think is really important, and I've said this a zillion times, is when you give someone the gift of listening and they have the ability to share, that's priceless. And that's where it starts, because if no one's listening to what you have to say, if you feel unheard, I've had this in previous times in my life. You start to feel like you're shrinking, like you're almost invisible. And then all of that you want to share, it gets stuffed inside. And then that results in issues, and people are calling you saying, hey, I need to bust my stress.
Totally. Totally. I mean, I remember when I was young and I went to college, because that was my thing. I went to college, and then much later I went to university. And I remember being a bit of a sort of on a pedestal with my brothers and say, you need to do well at school. You need to go to college. You need to get a trade, and you need to, and I kept saying, you need to do this. So that was my thing. That wasn't their thing. And I wasn't listening to my brothers. They were on their path and I was on mine, and we were on very different paths. That doesn't mean that I was right and they were wrong. And that doesn't mean that they were right and I was wrong. That means that we were doing what was right for ourselves at the time. And that's really, really important. That I was stuck in books in my bedroom, and my mum used to kind of go crazy because there were so many books everywhere, and it used to drive her crazy, all the paper. And she says, your room is a mess, and that was because there was always books everywhere, and I was in the library. But that's how I spent my time. My brothers went out and played football and had their friendships. And, who's right and who's wrong? We did what we did for ourselves that was right for me, was right for my brothers. And so there's no one size fits all. And it's important to recognize that we are all individuals, and to support the fact that we are different, because I didn't realize that, and I was pushing my values on my brothers, which was completely inappropriate.
Thank you so much for the transparency and for sharing. I love how real we are on this platform. It's phenomenal. Caroline, we are at the end of our show, and I would love for you to talk a little bit about your work as a talking head. And you just had a very powerful presentation that you shared. And then I'm going to bring up your slide for the chakra psychology, and if you could talk a little bit about that as well.
Last week on Tuesday, I did a presentation on self-harm. And it was quite an intense presentation, and at the same time very real from the perspective of I was using my training, my new training that I've been undergoing. And it's because it is a problem. it is a problem out there that's current. When I first started studying way back over 2 decades ago, we didn't actually have a conversation about mental health. We weren't talking about self-harm. We weren't, the conversation wasn't there. It was also difficult to even say stress. People didn't want to own up to feeling stressed or having difficulties in relationships. So I'm really looking at those difficult situations that we find ourselves in. That's real. Our anger management, our bereavement issues when somebody dies, nobody teaches us what to do. We kind of go through what we think we should do, but nobody's kind of spent time with us as children to tell us how to handle the emotions or not handle them. And so we don't handle them because there is no rule book for it. We just kind of push it down. So I'm really looking at how, when we don't express our emotions in whatever situation we're in, how it affects the body, how it affects the mind, how it traumatizes us, and then creates the external physical, emotional, mental behaviors. So yes, my stuff is deep. I've been working with a promoter for many years, and he would say, yes, Caroline's deep. She's really deep. And that's because I really go to the root cause, not just what's happening in that moment, but what's happened from your lifetime of feeling that way, because there's always a root cause for that same familiar feeling. And it's the trigger that creates that feeling. And so that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at root cause therapy, so we can obliterate all of it coming up. On my chakra psychology training course is looking very, very quickly through the chakras, and it's a healing course, and it's also an awareness course. And as you move through that training, which is very, very economically priced, it's a steal, really, that it takes you through the chakras and giving you insights to each of the chakras and what they're related to, so that you can understand what's causing your stress, wherever it's showing up, whether it's showing up behaviorally, physically, emotionally, mentally, in your relationships, in your family, because we're all human and we all have things that are going on. Nobody is perfect, not even I'm perfect. Everybody has stuff going on, and we handle it in different ways. And it's however we handle it is what causes our challenges with stress.
Thank you so much, Caroline. I appreciate it. And to take Caroline's course, please go over to drjacalyn.thinkific.com/collections. And also, Caroline, we have one more thing I wanted to get to today. We have a special offer for the holidays. 3 coaches, 3 outcomes. You'll work with Caroline, Dr. Madeline Chan, and myself, 1 coaching session from each of us. Caroline will help you bust your stress. Dr. Chan will help you find your voice, and I'll help you nail your interview. And it doesn't have to be an interview for a job. It could be an interview with another person for a date. All this together, $297. You can go over to drjacalyn.com/shop.
Woohoo, that's a steal. That's
Steal.
just incredible value.
It is a steal. I usually charge $500 an hour. So just so you know, you get the 3 of us for 3 hours. That's a major win. So thank you again, Caroline. I'm going to put you up with your banner and just let people know to take advantage of this fabulous offer that you have given them for their free bust their stress session. How do they do that?
Right, so reach out on email on NoMoreStress@live.co.uk, and let me know where you're from, what the problem is, and then we can set up a time that works best for you. We can do it on Zoom, we can do it on Skype, and if you don't want to do it by video, then we can do it by phone call. I'm not just pushing you down the road of being on screen, because some people don't like it, so we can do it on over a phone call, or I do have a WhatsApp, which I can give to you if that's what your preference is. So you can reach me in a call on +44 if you're international, If you're local, 07523 120 189. Please reach out, because I'm offering a free 30-minute consultation to bust through one symptom of your stress. You'll feel incredibly relaxed, and you'll get an incredible night's sleep at the end of it.
Pick up that phone, reach out, email her. She will help you. She's helped me. She's helped so many people. So please do take care and do it right now. Caroline, thank you so much for being here and for another wonderful show. I appreciate it.
It goes so quick. I don't know where the time goes.
Yeah, I started this morning at 10 of 9. The day just goes, I just one after another. I can't believe it. It's just how fast. But it's all good information. So thanks again, and I'll chat with you over the weekend.
It's been lovely, and I look forward to seeing you over the weekend and next week on Tuesday.
Absolutely, for Talking Heads.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now. And thanks again to each and every one of you out there who's watching or listening, commenting, whether it's now or in the future. We really do appreciate you. I have a few announcements that I'd like to make. First of all, we have 2 new team members. If you're not aware, here at USA Global TV and Radio, we have co-hosts. We also have elevated listeners. We have talking heads, and we have panelists. Joining our team as a certified elevated listener is Maria Ruseva. She is the founder of Moda de la Maria in London. I actually interviewed her on fashion, travel, and fitness. She walked us through her beautiful store. She specializes in sustainable fashion, specifically with tweeds and silk. So please do reach out to her. I'll put the contact information there in the comments. And also Maria Eduardo, who's with us today. Yay, Maria has joined us. She has her own catering business, and she is also a Toastmaster. She also helps people all over the world. She does phenomenal volunteer work, and she has been on our show, A Woman's Prerogative, and I'm just thrilled to have her join the team. Okay, also, if you're not aware, we have a weekly newsletter called The Global Post. Have you signed up for this? This is where we feature some of the most educational programs of the week. We also provide new information, and we'd love to have you as a guest on our shows. So if you haven't signed up, please go over to usaglobaltv.com, contact us. And finally, yay! I have a new book coming out with Mariska Dupree. She's in New Zealand, and we have co-authored this book to teach children and their families how to listen at an elevated level. Now, why is this important? Because everything in life comes down to listening. Okay, I have a master's degree, a doctorate. We're going through all the gold stars. Nobody ever taught me how to listen. And through most of my life, I don't feel like I was actually listened to, and I have 32 years of ulcerative colitis. I don't know, do they go together? Maybe, I'm not sure. But the point is, if we were young and we were able to learn how to listen without judging someone, without providing a solution, without interrupting, and without taking the stage and making the story about us, imagine how much peace there would be in the world. So what I'd like to suggest is that you go over to Amazon and pre-order your copy of the ebook, The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor. The individuals you see featured here are our team members. They are elevated listeners, as well as a number of other things on the team. Caroline is the star of the book. She is the white owl named Tara. And in this book, she and the other people who are represented by animal characters learn things about each other. We have forest animals, we have farm animals, and we see there's a fence separating them. And isn't that how life is? We put up these fences and these walls. So this book is the first of 7 in a series, again, to teach children and their families how to listen. On the 14th, we have a special show, which is for the book launch, and all these wonderful team members will be joining me, as well as Red O'Laughlin, who is my book coach, and he's also in this book. So you can pre-order the ebook now over on Amazon, and then on the 14th, you can get the paperback or the beautiful hardback copy. They make lovely gifts. All right, that's all for now. Thank you again. Our next show is coming up. It's presenting Pet Psychic Amina. I will see you over there in just a moment. Thanks, Caroline. Bye, Maria. Bye, everyone.